So hi and welcome to this video. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. It's just I've been pretty busy for the past few days, and this friend system was more complicated than I first thought. So let's get started basically. So we can say if post remove friend, and in case you don't remember, the remove we're getting this value from the name remove friend in the submit button, which is this one here. So to prevent errors, we're just going to put an @ sign in front of it. I mean, you might not have to, but I have to for some reason. So we can say add friend check. We'll create a MySQL query, and we'll say what we'll do is we'll first retrieve the person's friend array from users. Okay, and just in case you forget what the variable user is, as I sometimes do, I forget whether it's the logged in user or the user's friend. All we have to do is refresh, and since I echoed it, we're gonna get cinema. So I echoed the value user, which means user equals cinema. Cinema is who we're logged in as. So we could actually just put a comment up here. So user equals logged in user, and then we could just do another one for username. User who owns profile, let's just say that. Okay, so now we won't forget what those variables mean. We can continue on, so we can say get friend row equals MySQL fetch associative, which is add friend check. Then we create a variable to hold the data that we get. So we could say friend array equals get friend row what is it? Friend array, I think. Right. So to check that, we can just echo friend array. So when we hit remove friend, we should be echoed with my friend array for cinema, and we can check that by going into the database. As you can see, the username is cinema, the friend array is Francis, and new user. Okay, so we know this is the we could say friend array for logged in user. Okay. Now we'll create a variable called friend array explode. I'm not quite sure if this is necessary, but it didn't seem to work for me if I didn't have this code. So I mean, if you can get it to work without it, by all means, you don't need to include it. So the explode function takes two parameters. The first one is the first one is what you want to explode by, so every comma, and then the last one is where you want to actually look for where you want to get what you want to explode, basically. So and then we get another one, friend array count. And then we just say friend array explode. And as I said, I don't believe this code's necessary, but, well, these 2 lines. But I'm just going to include it anyway. So then this is the friend array for the user whose profile, for the user who owns profile, let's just say that. So this is quite similar, but all we have to do is check, or no, we have to change the values of these variables. So it doesn't matter, we could just put whatever we want just to make them unique. So I'm just going to add the variable username onto it, because the variable username is the person who owns the profile. Whoops. And we just change this to username, I think. Yeah. Okay. So now we get into the bit which is kind of complicated. So, as you saw, you can see my friend array looks like this. And in case you didn't see, the friend, I'm going to be deleting new user, because that's whose profile I'm on. So if I was to, the friend array for new user looks like that. So say and so here's what the 2 arrays look like. And this is sort of where it gets a bit complicated. So if I was to remove them as a friend, since I'm logged into Cinema, that's pretty simple. All I do is update the database or update the row and delete the word Cinema. And for new user, you would think it would be the same. All I do is delete the word new user. But then we have a problem. We have this comma here, which we don't want, because if I have a comma, since we're exploding the array, it's gonna think the comma is a person, so it's gonna think that's another friend. So that's not gonna work. That's gonna make errors. And even if they have only one friend, it's not quite as simple as just deleting the friend from the array, because what basically is going to go on is, say we have a load of friends, so Cinema doesn't really matter. Say we had 5 friends and these were our 5 friends. It's not as simple as just deleting one out of the array, because as you see, we're also left with another comma. And the only time it's actually simple is if they have one friend, but it's more complicated to say if they have one friend, do this. So it just makes more and more code, so it's easier just to do it one way and make it work for them all, basically. So what we're going to do is check, we're going to have 6 if statements, and these if statements are going to check whether there's a comma at the beginning of the word. So say that we wanted to delete new user, and say my friend array looks like this, like it does. Say we wanted to remove new user, that's fine. We just check if there's a comma before the word, and we delete it, that's fine. But say we wanted to remove Francis, we need to check if there's a comma at the end of the word as well, so we delete Francis. But we also need to check if they don't have a comma in the friend array, which is like new user does. So we just need to delete. So there'll be no commas, so we can't tell it to delete Cinema comma with a comma at the end, because if we told it to delete Cinema with a comma at the end and Cinema didn't actually have a comma, it would think there were 2 different things, and it wouldn't delete Cinema with it would try and delete Cinema with a comma. It wouldn't delete Cinema without a comma. So then we need to make 3 checks, one for if it's got a comma at the end, one if it has no comma at all, and one if it has a comma at the start. And we need to do this for both users, which is why there'll be 6 if statements. So I'll create let's actually say, no, we don't need to comment that. we could just say we can create a variable, and I'll call it username comma, and because it's going to be username. Right, to keep it simple, what this is going to equal is the variable username, which in this case, which is whoever's profile this is. So in this case, it's going to equal new user, but we're also going to append a comma on the start of it, so it's going to equal comma new user, which is how we're going to check for the existence of commas. So we just write username. So right now, username comma equals username, which we don't really need because that's just pointless because they equal the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to append a comma, which now this equals username comma now equals comma, and then in this case it's new user. So to append something, as you can see, all I did was 2 speech marks, and in between them you put what you want to append, and you append it using the dot. That's it. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Just call it username comma 2. Delete this so we don't need to append it, and we don't need to append it at the start. And now we just append a comma at the end, so now we have the 2 checks. We don't need to do it for the variable username because we already have that variable, and we don't need to declare it again and call it username comma 3 or whatever, because we don't need to do that because it won't have a comma. So then we can copy this and change this to user comma, because it's for the other person now. And then it's the same thing except to change user to our username to user. Okay, so now we can actually get on with removing a friend. So what we'll say is, if we'll use a function called str, and this function takes 2 parameters. The first one is okay, I'll tell you what it does first. For what this does is it checks a string for like the existence of a word. So it would, in this case, we could tell it to check you are watching a video. This is the first parameter, the string you want to check. The second parameter is what you want to look for. So we could get it to look for the word watching. So then this is going to say if the word watching is in that string, we're just going to echo yes. And then we'll say else. So if it isn't in the string, we'll echo no. And since the word watching is in the string, we will be given the word yes. So if I hit remove friend, we get yes. If I change this to cinema, hit remove friend, we'll get no. Which is basically how we're going to check. We're going to check basically the friend array, which is going to be the string, for the existence of a word, which is the username. Well, it's the username comma actually. So it's going to check. This is how it's going to look, basically. So this is my friend array, which is a string, and we're going to be deleting new user, so we need to delete it with a comma as well. So here's what it's going to actually look like. And now we will also be given yes. And where we wrote yes, we just want to tell it to basically remove the friend. So what we're going to do is we're going to change these to the variables so that they're dynamic, basically. So this first one is friend array, and the second one is username comma. So that's the same thing, except this time it's dynamic, so it'll be different for each user, and each user trying each friend you try to remove. So right now we can get rid of this else statement, and we're going to give we're going to create a variable called friend1, and this is going to equal str replace, And this function takes 3 parameters. And the first one is what you want to replace. So in this case, it's username, comma. Second one is what you want to replace it with. So since we're trying to remove it, we're going to replace the variable username, comma, which is the friend's username with the comma at the beginning, with nothing to remove it. And the last thing we're going to do is tell it where to remove it from, or where to actually get this information, which is friend array. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. And I'm going to say else, so it's going to check each one of these if statements. So actually, I'll do it again. There'll be 3 if statements for each user. The first one will check whether there is a comma at the start of their username. Second one will check whether there's a comma at the end of it, which is the username, comma 2 variable. And the third one is just the variable username, because it's only checking if there is no comma at the start and there's no comma at the end, then the only other option is there's no comma at all. So that's what this option is. So then we can just copy and paste this block, well, not block, these 3 if statements. And the only thing we have to change is user to, or username, comma to user, comma, username, comma 2 to user, comma 2, and like username to user. Oh, and we also let me see, we also have to change friend1 to friend2. Okay, so we could, to keep this easier to read, we could say remove remove logged in user from other person's array. So this will remove the 2 people from each other's arrays, which is basically how we're going to remove them as our friend. And now we just have to say, we just actually create a query. Whoops. And this query is what's going to actually remove the users from each other's arrays. So we'll say update users set friend array equal to the variable friend1, which we created, which is there because this is the first query. There'll be 2 queries, and the second query will be for friend2. Okay, so let me see, what does... Yeah, okay, the variable user is for the logged in user, so this will remove, in my case, if my friend array, let me see, if my friend array looks like this, and I remove new user, it'll, and I'm logged in as cinema, it's just gonna remove new user. So this is what this query does. It's gonna, and it uses, the reason we said we're friend array equals update user set friend array equal to friend1 is because where is it? Do you see these friend1 variables? The friend1 variable gets given a different value depending on which one of these if statements runs. And these if statements change depending on whether there's a comma at the start, end, or if there's no comma at all. And the friend1 variable just equals the same as the friend array minus, you could sort of say the friend1 variable equals friend array minus username. You could say that, which is sort of what it does, but that's how that's how we write it in that's not how we write it in PHP. This is how we get it to work. So we've done the first query, and the second one is more or less the same. only difference is we obviously change the name of the query. We make it equal friend2, and we update this. We update this user's friend array where their username is username, and up here is it. Username is the person who owns the profile. Okay, so now what we do is, I'm just going to echo friend removed. I'm going to say, I'm going to say header location username, which will take you back to the person's profile you're on. So let's just save this as test. So if I hit remove friend, okay, let me see. So it looks like it did remove, even though we did get that error for undefined variable. Looks like, yeah, it did actually remove it. So let me see. Okay, so to fix that error, all I did was just declare the variable. So I just typed in friend2 equals nothing, just to declare it. If I hit remove friend, oh wait, actually, okay, so I just change that. Okay, so now if I refresh and I hit remove friend, so I hit remove friend, and now it says add as friend, and now my friend array should be empty. So refresh. Yeah, okay, so now my friend array is empty. And I'm just gonna add a friend, and okay, actually. So I've added Francis as a friend again, and I will refresh the friend array. Oops, not the friend array, the users table. So I have 2 rows in it, or 1 row in each friend array, 1 friend basically. So all I do is hit remove friend, it refreshes us back, or it takes us back to the same page we were on, except that's changed from remove friend to add as friend. And if I go to users, and it works, it's the friend array is empty. So that's basically it. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. And yeah, that's basically it. So thanks. Bye.